In the heart of the lush, vibrant African savanna, where the acacia trees swayed gently in the breeze and the call of the night creatures serenaded the moon, lay the village of Tumeni. This village was a small, close-knit community where everyone knew each other's stories, joys, and sorrows. Among the villagers were two sisters, as strikingly beautiful as the first rays of dawn. Amina and Zai were their names. Their beauty was the talk of the village, captivating the hearts of many men. Amina, the elder, had a grace that radiated from her like the sun's warmth. Her kindness was known far and wide. She would often be seen helping the elderly or playing with the children, her laughter a soothing balm to the villagers' souls. Her younger sister, Zai, was equally stunning, with eyes that sparkled like the stars and a smile that could melt even the hardest of hearts. Yet, beneath that beautiful exterior, Zai harbored a darkness that grew with each passing day. Zai's envy of her sister was a seed that had taken root long ago, and now it threatened to consume her entirely. She despised the attention Amina received, the way the villagers adored her, and the many suitors who flocked to their home, hoping for a chance to win Amina's heart. One warm evening, as the crimson sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, the sisters sat by the fire outside their hut. The aroma of roasted maize filled the air, mingling with the earthy scent of the savannah. Sister Amina began, her voice soft and melodic, "Did you hear that Mosi is planning a grand feast for his daughter's wedding? He has invited the entire village. It will be a joyous occasion." Zai's eyes narrowed as she stirred the pot of maize. "Joyous for you, perhaps," she muttered under her breath. Then, louder, she added, "And what of it? Another chance for the men to fawn over you like lovesick puppies." Amina's brow furrowed, and she reached out to touch her sister's arm. "Zai, why do you speak like this? They admire us both. You know that." "No, Amina. They admire you," Zai snapped, pulling away. "You with your perfect smiles and kind words. They hardly notice me when you're around." Amina sighed, her heart aching for her sister. "Zai, you are just as beautiful and just as loved. Please, do not let bitterness poison your heart." Zai's eyes flashed with anger. "You always say that, but it's easy for you, isn't it? Everyone loves you. They hang on your every word. You have everything, and I have nothing." Before Amina could respond, a rustling sound came from the edge of the clearing. The sisters turned to see their father, Mzee Jabari, approaching. His weathered face was etched with concern as he sensed the tension between his daughters. "Daughters," he greeted them, his voice a deep, comforting rumble. "What troubles you this evening?" Amina forced a smile. "Nothing, father. Just talking about Mosi's feast." Mzee Jabari nodded slowly, his wise eyes lingering on Zai. "Zai, my child, remember that envy is a thief that steals joy. Do not let it take yours." Zai's expression hardened, and she stood abruptly. "I need some air," she declared, storming off into the night. As the darkness swallowed her figure, Amina's worry deepened. She could feel a storm brewing within Zai, a tempest that threatened to tear their family apart. The village of Tumeni continued its nightly symphony, unaware of the danger that lurked within one of its own. Zai's footsteps echoed in the stillness as she made her way to the sacred baobab tree, a place where villagers sought guidance from the spirits. Her heart pounded with a mix of anger and desperation. "Spirits of the ancestors," Zai whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Hear me. I cannot live in Amina's shadow any longer. I want it all for myself. The beauty, the admiration, the love. Help me find a way to take what should be mine." The wind seemed to hold its breath, and the air grew thick with an eerie stillness. Suddenly, a cold, malevolent whisper brushed against Zai's ear, sending a shiver down her spine. "Be careful what you wish for, Zai," the voice hissed. "The path you seek is dark and treacherous. Are you prepared to pay the price?" Zai's eyes gleamed with a dangerous determination. "I am ready," she declared, her voice steady and resolute. "I will do whatever it takes." The wind picked up, swirling around Zai as if to acknowledge her vow. She stood tall, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and anticipation. She had made her choice, and there was no turning back. As the first rays of dawn began to pierce the night sky, Zai felt a strange, dark power settle within her. She turned towards the village, a sinister smile playing on her lips. The game had begun, and she was determined to win, no matter the cost. In the stillness of the early morning, as the village of Tumeni slept unaware of the storm brewing in their midst, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. Amina's peaceful world was about to be shattered, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sun rose slowly, casting a golden glow over the savannah, but for the village of Tumeni, the shadow loomed, darker than any they had ever known. And at its center stood Zai, ready to claim what she believed was rightfully hers. The following morning, the village of Tumeni awoke to a bustling anticipation. Today was the day of Moses' grand feast, a celebration that promised music, dance, and endless joy. However, the happiness that burst through the village was not mirrored in the home of Mzee Jabari. Amina lay on her sleeping mat, her face pale and her breath shallow. She had awakened with a fever that burned hotter than the midday sun and a weakness that left her barely able to lift her head. Mzee Jabari hovered nearby, his worry etched deeply into his features. "My dear Amina, what has befallen you?" he murmured, his hand cool on her forehead. Amina struggled to speak, her voice a mere whisper. "Father, I feel as though a dark cloud has settled over me. I do not understand it." Zai, standing at the doorway, watched with faint concern. Deep down, she suspected the work of the forest spirits. But she wore a mask of pity, her eyes gleaming with hidden satisfaction. "I will stay with her," Mzee Jabari said, his tone firm. "Zai, you must go to Moses' feast in our stead. Represent our family well." Zai nodded, her expression solemn. "Of course, Father. I will make sure our family's presence is felt." As she turned to leave, she cast one last glance at Amina, who lay helpless and unaware of the dark pact her sister had made. With a sense of triumph bubbling beneath her composed exterior, Zai stepped out into the sunlight and made her way to the celebration. The village center was alive with music and laughter. Colorful fabrics adorned the huts, and the aroma of spiced meats and sweet fruits filled the air. Moses' daughter, Abiola, radiated joy in her wedding attire, her smile as bright as the sun. Beside her stood her groom, Tando, beaming with pride. Zai arrived, immediately drawing the attention of the villagers. Her beauty, and now unchallenged by her sister's presence, was more striking than ever. She moved gracefully through the crowd, her laughter ringing like bells, enchanting those around her. "Zai," called a voice. It was her friend, Diana, a vibrant young woman with a mischievous smile. "You look stunning today. Where is Amina?" Zai's face fell into a practiced look of sorrow. "Amina is ill. She couldn't make it." Ayana's eyes widened with concern. "Oh no. I hope she recovers soon." Zai shrugged, her expression softening as she spotted Moses' son, Makali, across the clearing. "Yes, I hope so too," she said absently. Her eyes lingered on Makali, who was engaged in a conversation with a group of men. Tall and handsome, with a charming yet enigmatic personality, Makali was everything Zai desired. His wealth and influence in the village only added to his allure. Ayana followed Zai's gaze and smirked. "Ah, Makali. You've been eyeing him for quite some time, haven't you?" Zai blushed slightly but held her head high. "He's interesting," she admitted. "But he hardly notices me." "How could he not?" Ayana laughed. "You're the most beautiful woman here." Despite the attention of many suitors who vied for her favor, Zai's focus remained on Makali. As the feast continued, she made several attempts to catch his eye, but Macaulay seemed impervious to her charms. He was polite, but distant, his mind seemingly elsewhere. During a lively dance, Zai found herself next to Macaulay. She smiled up at him, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Macaulay, you dance well. It's a wonder you haven't swept any of the ladies off their feet." Macaulay chuckled, his gaze distant. "Thank you, Zai. But tonight is about celebrating my sister's happiness. That's where my focus lies." Frustration gnawed at Zai. How could he remain so indifferent? She had always been able to captivate anyone she desired, yet Macaulay seemed immune to her allure. As the night wore on and the festivities grew wilder, Zai excused herself from the crowd and found a quiet spot under a large acacia tree. Ayana joined her, a knowing look in her eyes. "Macaulay is a difficult one, isn't he?" Ayana remarked, settling beside Zai. Zai sighed, her frustration evident. "He is. I don't understand it. What more must I do to gain his attention?" "Maybe it's not about what you do, but who you are," Ayana suggested gently. "Perhaps Macaulay is looking for something deeper than beauty." Zai's eyes flashed with annoyance. "Are you saying I'm shallow?" "No, Zai. I'm saying that maybe Macaulay sees beyond the surface. Maybe he seeks a connection that goes deeper than what the eye can see." Zai pondered Ayana's words, her mind swirling with thoughts. She had always relied on her looks and charm to get what she wanted, but perhaps, with Macaulay, she needed a different approach. The night continued, but Zai's thoughts remained with Macaulay. Her envy and determination mixed into a potent brew. She was not one to give up easily, and the challenge only made her more resolute. As the villagers danced and sang under the starlit sky, Zai's mind worked tirelessly, plotting her next move. She would have Macaulay no matter the cost. The morning after the grand feast, the village of Tumeni was a blend of contentment and exhaustion. Yet, in Mzee Jabari's heart, a heavy silence loomed. Amina's condition had not improved, and her father stayed by her side, tending to her with unwavering care. Word of Amina's illness had spread quickly, reaching even the ears of Mosi and his family. Out of respect and concern, they decided to pay a visit to Mzee Jabari's home, bearing offerings of food and medicinal herbs. Mosi led his children, Rabiola and Macaulay, through the village paths to Jabari's hut. They carried baskets filled with fruits, freshly baked bread, and bundles of healing plants. As they approached, Mosi knocked gently on the wooden doorframe. Mzee Jabari, Mosi called, his deep voice warm and respectful. "We come bearing gifts and well wishes for Amina's swift recovery." Jabari opened the door, a tired smile on his face. "Mosi, Abiola, Macaulay. Your kindness is greatly appreciated. Please, come in." The visitors entered the modest hut, their eyes adjusting to the dim light. Amina lay on her mat, her face pale and her eyes closed, her breaths shallow but steady. Zai stood by her side, with her expression a mix of concern and something darker as she watched the newcomers. "Amina," Abiola said softly, kneeling beside her friend. "We brought some herbs that might help you feel better." Amina's eyes fluttered open, and she offered a weak smile. "Thank you, Abiola. Your kindness means the world to me." Macaulay, who had been standing quietly, found his gaze irresistibly drawn to Amina. There was a softness in her eyes, even in her weakened state, that captivated him. He moved closer, his voice gentle. "Amina, I hope these offerings bring you strength." Amina looked up at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude. "Thank you, Macaulay. Your presence is a comfort." Zai, who had been watching this exchange, felt a surge of envy that burned like fire in her chest. How could Amina, even in her illness, draw Macaulay's attention so effortlessly? She forced a smile, stepping forward to place a hand on Amina's shoulder. We are all praying for your swift recovery, sister. Mosi, sensing the tension, turned to Mzee Jabari. Jabari, we hope these herbs and foods will help Amina regain her strength. If there is anything else you need, do not hesitate to ask. Jabari nodded, his gratitude sincere. Your generosity is deeply appreciated, Mosi. We will use these gifts well. As Mosi and Abiola engaged in conversation with Jabari, Makali remained by Amina's side, a sense of protectiveness growing within him. Zai watched, her mind racing with jealousy and frustration. She had desired Makali's attention, but it seemed fate had other plans. After a while, Mosi gestured for his children to follow him. We should let Amina rest. Thank you for welcoming us, Jabari. We will keep you in our thoughts. As they prepared to leave, Makali hesitated, looking back at Amina. Get well soon, Amina. I hope to see you up and about soon. Amina managed a faint smile. Thank you, Makali. Your words give me strength. Once Mosi and his children had departed, Zai's envy boiled over. She turned to her father, her voice tight with barely concealed anger. Father, why does Makali show so much concern for Amina? It is unfair that she receives all the attention, even now. Jabari frowned, his gaze stern. Zai, your sister is gravely ill. This is not the time for such feelings. Makali is simply being kind. Zai beat back a retort, knowing it would only upset her father. Instead, she turned on her heel and left the hut, needing space to cool the fire of jealousy that raged within her. Outside, Zai paced, her mind a storm of thoughts. She had always been envious of Amina's ability to draw people in with her kindness and beauty, but this was different. Makali's interest in Amina threatened everything Zai had desired. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the village, Zai vowed to find a way to shift Makali's attention back to her. She would not let her sister, sick or not, steal away the man she desired. Back inside the hut, Amina drifted into a restless sleep, unaware of the turmoil her presence had stirred in her sister's heart. Mzee Jabari sat by her side, his mind heavy with worry and hope. The night was calm, but in the hearts of the sisters, a storm was brewing, one that would test their bond and reveal the true cost of envy and desire. Days passed, and the herbs provided by Mosi and his family began to work their magic. Amina's fever broke, and strength slowly returned to her body. The villagers noticed her gradual recovery, and soon, she was able to leave her mat and walk outside, feeling the sun on her face once more. Mzee Jabari watched with relief and pride as his eldest daughter regained her health. Amina, you are a true fighter, he said, his voice filled with emotion. Seeing you well again brings joy to my heart. Thank you, Father, Amina replied, her smile bright. I am grateful for everyone's support, especially Mosi and his family. Their herbs were truly miraculous. It wasn't long before Makali began visiting more frequently, his concern for Amina turning into something deeper. They would often walk together through the village, talking and laughing, their connection growing stronger with each passing day. Zai watched from a distance, her heart a churning sea of envy and resentment. She felt a sharp pang every time she saw them together, knowing that Makali's affection had slipped through her fingers. One afternoon, as Zai wandered near the edge of the village, she overheard Amina and Makali talking beneath a large baobab tree. She ducked behind a bush, listening intently. Makali, Amina was saying, her voice soft and affectionate, I never thought I would find such happiness, especially after my illness. Makali took her hand, his eyes full of warmth. Amina, you are a remarkable woman. Your strength and kindness have captured my heart. I cannot imagine my life without you. Amina blushed, her smile radiant. And I feel the same, Makali. I never believed I would find someone who truly understands and supports me. Makali's expression grew serious. Amina, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Zai's breath caught in her throat, her eyes widening in shock and fury. She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms as she listened to Amina's joyful response. Yes, Makali, Amina whispered, tears of happiness in her eyes. I will marry you. Zai could barely contain her rage. The man she had desired for so long had chosen her sister, the one who always seemed to overshadow her. She stormed away, her mind a whirlwind of bitter thoughts. Back at their hut, Mzee Jabari was elated when Amina shared the news. My dear Amina, he exclaimed, embracing her tightly, I am so proud of you. Makali is a good man, and you will make a wonderful life together. Amina beamed, feeling her father's pride and love. Thank you, father. Your support means everything to me. Zai stood in the doorway, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. She watched as Mzee Jabari's attention and praise were lavished upon Amina, feeling herself sink further into the shadows. Her envy twisted her thoughts, feeding her resentment and desire for retribution. That evening, as the village celebrated the news of Amina and Makali's engagement, Zai sat alone, her mind churning with dark plans. She had always felt overshadowed by her sister, but now it was unbearable. Makali was wealthy and influential, a man who could provide a life of comfort and power. And yet, Amina had stolen him away without even trying. I won't let this happen, Zai muttered to herself, her eyes burning with determination. Amina won't take everything from me. I will find a way to change this. As the celebration continued, with villagers dancing and singing under the starlit sky, Zai's thoughts grew darker. She knew she had to act quickly, for every day that passed saw Amina and Makali's bond growing stronger. The village of Tumeni remained oblivious to the brewing storm within Zai's heart. The shadows of envy and desire had taken root, and Zai's determination to claim what she believed was rightfully hers would lead her down a dangerous path. In the stillness of the night, as the moon cast a pale light over the village, Zai made a silent vow. She would not let Amina's happiness stand in the way of her own desires. No matter the cost, she would find a way to turn the tide in her favor. Zai's mind was consumed with jealousy and desperation. She knew she had to find a way to stop Amina and Makali's wedding. The only way to do that, she reasoned, was to uncover any secrets that could tarnish the reputation of Mossy's family. Rumors had always swirled around them, shrouding their wealth and power in mystery. Determined to find something she could use, Zai began to quietly gather information. She listened intently to the gossip of the villagers, hoping to catch any whispers about Mossy's family. Despite her efforts, the family's affairs remained an enigma, their secrets well guarded. One evening, Zai made up her mind to take a bolder approach. Under the cover of darkness, she slipped out of her hut and made her way to Mossy's home. She knew it was risky, but the thought of losing Makali to her sister spurred her on. Carefully, she approached the grand house that stood at the edge of the village. The moonlight cast long shadows on the walls, then Zai moved quietly, avoiding the watchful eyes of the villagers. She found an unlocked window at the back of the house and slipped inside, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Inside, the house was filled with the trappings of wealth, intricately carved furniture, rich fabrics, and golden ornaments. Zai moved silently through the rooms, searching for anything that might give her an advantage. In a small study, she found a desk cluttered with papers and scrolls. She rifled through them, her eyes scanning for anything of interest. Suddenly, a document caught her eye. It was a letter written in an elegant script addressed to Mossy. My dear friend Mossy, it is with great hope that I write to you. Our kingdom has faced many trials, and it is with your guidance that we seek to find suitable suitors for our children. The safety and future of our lineage depend on their unions. May the spirits guide and protect you. King Keto of Zangoma. Zai's eyes widened as she read the letter. Mosi and his family were royalty from a foreign kingdom, seeking to secure their future through strategic marriages. The realization hit her like a bolt of lightning. Marrying into this family would mean immense power and influence, far beyond what she had ever imagined. Her resolve hardened. She had to stop the wedding and take Macaulay for herself. With this new knowledge, she was certain she could find a way to sabotage the engagement. As she continued her search, she heard footsteps approaching. Panicking, she quickly hid behind a heavy curtain, her heart racing. The door to the study creaked open, and she held her breath, hoping not to be discovered. "Mosi, are you still awake?" It was Macaulay's voice, calm and steady. "Yes, Macaulay," Mosi replied, his voice tired. "There is much to prepare for the wedding. Amina is a wonderful woman, and I am pleased you have chosen her." Macaulay sighed. "Father, there is something I must tell you. I have deep feelings for Amina, but there is a part of me that feels an inexplicable connection to Zai. It's strange and confusing." Zai's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Macaulay still had feelings for her? Mosi's voice was thoughtful. "Macaulay, matters of the heart are really simple. You must follow what you truly feel, but remember that our family's legacy is at stake." Macaulay nodded slowly. "I understand, Father. I will think on it." As the conversation ended and the footsteps retreated, Zai slipped out from behind the curtain, her mind racing. She had heard enough to know that there was still a chance to win Macaulay's heart. But she needed to act quickly and decisively. She exited the house the same way she had entered, her heart pounding with a mix of triumph and anxiety. She now knew Mosi's family secret and sensed an opportunity in Macaulay's lingering feelings for her. Zai's resolve was stronger than ever. She would stop at nothing to ensure that she, and not Amina, would marry into the royal family. As she made her way back to her hut, the village of Tumeni slept peacefully, unaware of the storm that was brewing within one of its own. The shadows of envy were deepening, and Zai's path was set on a dangerous course. The village of Tumeni began to stir as dawn's light broke across the horizon. For most, it was the beginning of another day filled with the promise of simple joys and hard work. For Zai, however, it was the start of a desperate and dark plan. Zai sat in her small corner of the hut, her thoughts racing. She needed to find a way to ruin Amina's beauty. It was the only way to shift Macaulay's affections back to her. As the villagers went about their morning routines, Zai slipped out of the hut and headed toward the forest. The forest was a place of mystery and superstition, filled with ancient trees and hidden secrets. It was here that Zai hoped to find the means to her end. She had heard whispers of a witch who lived deep in the woods, a woman who could brew potions and cast spells for those willing to pay the price. Zai's determination pushed her forward, and after hours of walking, she found herself at the edge of a small clearing. In the center stood a decrepit hut, smoke curling from its chimney. Summoning her courage, Zai approached and knocked on the door. The door creaked open, revealing an old woman with piercing eyes and a knowing smile. "What brings you to my home, child?" the witch asked, her voice raspy but firm. Zai swallowed her fear and stepped inside. "I need your help. I need a potion that will make someone less beautiful." The witch raised an eyebrow, her interest piqued. "And who might this unfortunate soul be?" "My sister," Zai admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need her to lose her beauty so that the man she is set to marry will look to me instead." The witch cackled softly, her eyes gleaming with amusement. "Oh, envy and desire, a potent mix indeed. I can help you, but know that such a potion comes with a heavy price." Zai's eyes narrowed. "What kind of price?" "To take away beauty, one must give up something precious in return," the witch explained. "You must sacrifice a part of your own soul, and with it, a portion of your own beauty." Zai hesitated, the weight of the witch's words sinking in. But the image of Makali and Amina together, happy and in love, fueled her resolve. I will do it. The witch nodded, a twisted smile on her lips. Very well. Sit by the fire and let us begin. As the witch began to chant and mix her potions, Zai's mind wandered back to her sister. She remembered their childhood, when they had been inseparable. But those memories were now overshadowed by the burning desire to have Makali for herself. After what felt like hours, the witch handed Zai a small vial filled with a dark, swirling liquid. Give this to your sister. A few drops in her drink will suffice. But remember, the effects are irreversible. Zai took the vial, her hand trembling slightly. Thank you. The witch's eyes bore into her. You have chosen a dangerous path, child. Be prepared for the consequences. Zai nodded and left the hut, her heart heavy but resolute. She made her way back to the village, the vial clutched tightly in her hand. As she approached her home, she saw Amina and Makali sitting together, their laughter ringing out in the morning air. A sharp pang of jealousy twisted in Zai's chest. She watched as Makali leaned in close, whispering something that made Amina blush and smile. The sight only strengthened her resolve. Later that evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Zai saw her chance. She carefully poured a few drops of the potion into Amina's cup when no one was looking, her heart pounding in her chest. She handed the cup to her sister, forcing a smile. Here, Amina. Drink this. It will help you regain your strength. Amina took the cup, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Zai. You've been so kind to me. Zai watched as Amina lifted the cup to her lips and took a sip. A sense of triumph mingled with guilt washed over her. She had done it. Soon, Amina's beauty would fade and Makali would turn to her. But as the evening wore on, a gnawing doubt began to creep into Zai's mind. She had crossed a line, and the witch's warning echoed in her ears. Be prepared for the consequences. Zai forced herself to push the doubt aside. She had come too far to turn back now. She would have Makali, and nothing would stand in her way. As night fell and the village of Tumeni settled into sleep, Zai lay awake, her thoughts racing. She had set her plan in motion, but the cost of her actions was yet to be revealed.